Hey folks, welcome back to the series where we build a video calling app with durable objects. In the last video, we saw how to build a WebSocket server with durable objects. If you missed it, go check out that video in the link at the top corner over here. That's cool and all, but our server right now doesn't do anything yet. It cannot receive and broadcast messages. So let's fix that in this video. I'm going to show you how to route incoming messages from a WebSocket connection, and that involves broadcasting a received message to everyone else apart from the sender. Then I'll also show you how to close a WebSocket connection and how to do all of the cleanup associated with it. By the end of this video, we'll have completed the backend of the video calling app, and let's get started. So in the last video, we built this WebSocket backend, and it's able to accept a WebSocket connection and establish a connection with a client, and also has like this error handling we built in to ensure that the client upgrades the WebSocket before moving on. So what we'll do in this video is we'll start by handling messages received by this WebSocket server. And the durable object instance gives us a method to do that. It's called WebSocket Message, and this is what it looks like, WebSocket Message. And it has a WebSocket and also the received message, and this is the body of where we go on to implement it. More information about this is also available in the documentation, but what this basically is going to do is tell us who is sending a message and what message that is. So we know who the sender is, and we also know what message is being sent. But I am also going to go ahead to create a function, a helper function called broadcast. So this is going to be broadcast, and this is going to have a sender and also a message. And of course, that sender is a WebSocket connection. So let's go into the WebSocket message function. And virtually all we want to do here is delegate the message sending to the broadcast function. So this is going to be this.broadcast, and we want to pass the WebSocket as the sender and also the message. And that's going to like hand it off to broadcast, and broadcast is going to be able to handle sending the message. But before doing that, we also want to do a couple of things. We want to know if the sender has a session ID. If this sender does not have a session ID, we want to go ahead to generate a session ID, because it's a good idea to keep track of who is sending what, and then want to go ahead to send the message for that sender if that already exists. So let's do that. First thing we're going to do is grab the sender from the session. So this is going to be const session equal to this.sessions.get the WebSocket. All right. The next thing we're going to do is check if the sender has an ID. So if not session.id, if the sender doesn't have an ID, we want to create an ID. So this is going to be session.id equal to crypto. So we're using the crypto API .random UUID. All right. So that's going to generate a new random UID for that session. And the next thing we want to do is ensure we have that ID added to the WebSocket instance in memory. So we do that by using the serialized attachment. And we also want to add whatever is already in memory in addition to the ID that we are adding in. So this is going to be WebSocket.serialize attachment. All right. And we want to pass an object. The first param to this object will be whatever is already in memory. So this is going to be WebSocket.deserialize attachment, so that we fetch everything else in memory. And then we also want to add the ID, which is going to come from session.id. All right, that looks good. And the last thing we're going to do here is broadcast to the WebSocket itself that we have its ID added and everything is ready to go. So we can do a quick WebSocket.send, although this is not necessary, but just good practice. So we can do a quick WebSocket.send and JSON.stringify. The message is going to be an object that says ready, true, and has the ID, which is going to be session.id. And that's basically all we want to do when a new message comes in without the sender already having an ID. Now let's go on to work on the broadcast function, because this is where the actual message sending happens. So when we get a message to broadcast, remember what we want to do here is we want to send that message to every other connected WebSocket apart from the sender itself. So that's what we want to do here. And the first thing we want to do is figure out the sender's ID, which we can grab from the session. So this is going to be const ID equals to this dot session sessions.get, and want to pass in the sender, and want to just get the sender's ID. And the next thing we want to do is loop through all of the sessions to figure out who the sender is and send it to that session if it is not the sender. So this is going to be a for loop. So we are going to have a WebSocket of this dot sessions, and we want to loop here. First thing I want to do is do a quick check. If this WebSocket is the sender, if it's the sender, we simply want to continue. All right, we don't want to send that message to the person who is sending the message, but want to send it to everyone else. But if it is not the sender, what we want to do here is we want to figure out the type of the message, add the sender's ID into the message, and send it to the WebSocket that is currently in the loop. So we can use a quick switch statement here. So this is going to be switch. All right. And this is going to be type of message. So if the type of message is a string, what we want to do is we want to pass that string, add the ID to the string, that's the sender's ID to the string, and then we want to have that message sent to the WebSocket connection. So this is going to be WebSocket.send, and this is going to be JSON.stringify, and this is going to be an object. We want to have whatever already is in that message, and this is going to be JSON.parse message. And then we also want to add the ID, which is going to be the sender's ID of whoever is sending this message. So that's all we want to do if it is a string. If it is not a string, we want to do exactly the same thing we're doing when it's a string, but we don't need to pass the message because it's already going to be a string. So let's delete all of that, and there we go. So we're just getting the message object, adding the ID to it, and sending it to the client. And I guess that's all we need to do for broadcasting a message. So what I'm going to do is ensure we have the server running, and it is, and we can head back to the browser and test out this broadcast message feature we just built. So let's do that. I'm heading back to the browser. What I'll do here is I'm going to create a new tab. So let's duplicate this tab. And for the first tab, I am going to have a body that says client 1. And let's copy this over. And in second tab, we're going to have a body that says client 2. All right, so let's connect. We are connected to the WebSocket server now. And let's also connect here. We are connected. And the next thing we'll do is let's send a message. So we'll send this message, which is client 1. And here you see we receive a response saying ready true. And we have our own session ID displayed to us here so that we know who we are when it comes to the server context. And if we switch over to the other tab, you notice that we received this message. We received a message called client 1, and we can see the sender ID, which is this ID over here, and that's the same ID of the sender. So we have this message broadcasting working, and it's actually awesome. This also means that from client 2, we can also send a message. And when we do, we have the ready true sent back to us, and we have our client ID also printed out. And then the other client, which is client 1, is able to receive the message from client 2, and we can see the sender ID of the message, which is coming from client 2. And the next time we send a message, we won't get the ready true. So I'm just going to send this message again. You can see we don't get ready true. I can send another message. We don't get ready true. And we should have two messages from client 1, which is this message and also this message, which means everything is working as expected, and that is awesome. Now, the next thing we'll do here is handle situations where there is a closure in the WebSocket connection or there's an error. So if connection closes, how do we handle it so that we're able to clean up the session and shut everything down gracefully? So that's what we'll be looking at starting now. So let's switch back to the IDE, and I'm going to close the terminal. And what we want to do is leverage two built-in methods that is provided to us as a part of durable object. So we have the WebSocket close event, WebSocket close, and this is going to tell us what the WebSocket is. All right, and that's the body. Then we also have the WebSocket error event. So if there's an error, we also want to close the WebSocket. So these are the two events we receive free of charge with a durable object. But because we're going to be doing the exact same thing when there's an error or when there's a close event, I'm going to have a helper function just like we created with the broadcast function. I'm going to have another helper function called close, and this is also going to receive a WebSocket. So this is close, and this is going to receive a WebSocket, and this is going to handle all of the cleanup we need to do. So what this is going to do is when this method runs, it is first going to figure out who that WebSocket is and pull that WebSocket from the session. So this is going to be const session is equals to this.sessions.get. So we want to get the WebSocket, and we want to do a check. If this WebSocket does not have an ID, it means that we already probably did the cleanup previously, so we can just return. So this is session.id. If there's no ID, we just want to return. All right, but if there's an ID, what we want to do is we want to tell all other connected clients that this particular client has left the WebSocket session, and then we can handle the cleanup. So this is going to be this.broadcast. We want to broadcast using the sent WebSocket. I want to send a message that says type left. So this client left the durable object call, and the next thing we want to do is we want to delete this session. So this is going to be this.sessions.delete, and we want to clean up that WebSocket. And that's all we want to do for the close handler. So right here in the WebSocket close event, we are going to call the close method. So this is going to be this.close. I want to pass in the WebSocket, and the same also goes here. This.close, we also want to pass in the WebSocket. And that's all we want to do. So we have the close handler built, and I should ensure we have the server running. So let's go to the client and see if all of this works. I'm going to switch back to the browser, and we can connect to the WebSocket server, right? So we're also going to connect to the WebSocket server. Then I can send a message and the other client receives the message. I can also send a message here. But the interesting thing here is that when we go to disconnect, so I've clicked on the disconnect button, and for some reason, Hopscotch takes a few seconds to disconnect. Okay, we have it disconnect now. So when we go to disconnect, the other client, which is client 1, should be able to see that client 2 left the WebSocket server. So you can see that message here saying that we have a left event, type left event, and we can see the client who left, which is the ID of client 2 over here. So we have that working, and that is awesome. So yeah, this is really nice. And so far we have completed the WebSocket backend. So remember this diagram. So let's take a look at the architecture diagram. This is the WebSocket backend. We have completed it right now, and it's really awesome. So we have the worker. We also have the durable object that handles all of the incoming WebSocket connection. And with this code we have just added, heading back to the code, we have the backend completed, and that is awesome. We've made great progress here, and we have the entire backend ready for our video calling app. So in the next video, we'll begin working on the front end and putting all of the pieces together. Don't forget to get subscribed so that you don't miss the next video, and I'll see you in the next tutorial. Take care. Bye bye.